Okay, let's get into it. I just want to do my weekly outlook and my pre-market game plan going into Monday. So I just want to get this out to you folks so you got it to study over it and look over it on the weekend. So let's get into it. So super solid week. To be completely honest, this week was very identical to last week. Very, very identical. And we'll break this down a little bit more thoroughly here on how. So clearly, we're still bullish bias on this overall market. Last week, right? And I'll explain pretty much the same thing here on the cues. So 2 weeks ago, what do? We started this market with a gap up. And I've already explained, the reason that this is annoying when we keep starting the week off with a gap up is because eventually those gaps have to get filled and that thin volume has to get filled. So what does that mean? Instead of us having our nice continuation higher, we're pulling back, just filling those gaps and filling all that thin volume. So 2 weeks ago, we gapped up in the market. And what do we do all of last week? Pulled back. It was healthy, but we pulled back all of last week. Now, what do we do this week? We started this week off with a gap up. And what do we do for 3 days, just how we did on the cues? We did nothing for 3 days. We sat in the channel. And then eventually, what do? We pulled back, filled the gap, filled all this thin volume, and then we pushed back to the upside. Remember, straight down equals straight up. This is a lot of thin volume in here. Buyer stepped up very aggressively, pushing this thing higher. So what do we do today? Or Friday, I would say. We pulled back, we filled that thin volume, buyer stepped up, pushed this thing higher. So now that I'm looking at my chart, no more gaps, no more thin volume. At least that needs to be filled. Now, you guys know I've been preaching this 673 for a while now. This is the dip buy, and I'm going to keep saying that, and I promise you, if it sets up, I'm taking my shot. Now, why do I love this here? Well, thin volume, I love that, right? There's no bull crap in here. There's none of that. Straight up equals straight down. So I'm looking for this. This is a super solid setup. And like I always say, right, we want to be in a trade down here before we get back to the top of this range. Hope that makes sense. So, coming into Monday, I'm only looking for longs over 673, right? Break and retest over this level is valid too. If we open up under 673, I'm hands off. See this? It's just a channel. I don't want to be in that. This I don't want to be in. And what have I been saying is I want to see the top of this channel turn into support. So it started to act as support. You can see here, it was being defended, but I feel like we never really got that solid break and retest here. So on the 673, this is really what I'm looking for. This really is the key level. And you can kind of see this setting up. That looks super solid. Shot back towards all-time highs. I'm really eyeing the 673. That is really my A plus long on SPY. Of course, if we open above it, I'm just looking for a pullback long off of it. So Qs, same thing here. So what do we do on Qs? Right, 2 weeks ago, we gapped up, we gapped up, we gapped up, gapped up, and we actually ended up making an all-time high. Right, that was 2 weeks ago. So what do we do after all of that? Spent an entire week just filling the gap. Very healthy. Spent an entire week filling the gap. This week, right, what do? We gapped up. And then for 3 days, we did nothing. We just sat in between the previous day high and the previous day low. Houston didn't do anything. So what am I looking at? Well, what do? Fill the gap. Very normal. 2 Fridays in a row. This is what I mean when I just said the last 2 weeks have been very, very identical. When you look at it from that perspective, SPY and the Qs really hasn't done anything. Yeah, we're holding up, we're bullish bias, but we really haven't done anything. We just did what we did last week. We gapped up and we pulled back, we filled the gaps, and then strong buyer stepped up again on Friday. Literally identical. So that being said, same thing I broke down here on SPY. This is my A plus opportunity here on 61280 on the Qs. You guys know I've been hawking this thing, I've been eyeing this thing, and I feel like really never got an opportunity. Really never did. Right? We never really got this solid break and retest. One sec. We never really got this solid break and retest over 61280. Right? I want to see the top of this range, this channel turn into support. So when you look here on the daily, something I've been saying is, we ended up gapping above it, we ripped back under it, we gapped above it again, we fell under it again. Like it really hasn't been there yet. Haven't gotten that opportunity, but it's there. It's setting up. Right? This is a range that I don't want to be in. So coming into Monday, for me, the 61280 is my key level to watch here. This is really my key level to watch. If we stay under 61280, I'm hands off because I don't want to be in any of these channels, but you're bullish bias. So if we're under 61280, you're just looking for pullback longs. So I'm open to this. I'm open to this, right? We saw this level get respected very well last week, very, very well. It's 617.20. So I would love to see us, break and retest over 612, reclaim the 617.20 and push higher, right? Like I said, we want to be in a trade. Give me one sec. We want to be in a long position down here before we get back to the top of this range. I don't want to be late to the party. So, this is the dip buy. The 61280 is really the key level. So that's really on my game plan. That is my main watch here on the Qs on Monday. Anything under 61280, I'm hands off. Tesla. So super solid day on Tesla. It did fill this gap. Remember Friday, we ended up, I'll show you really quick. One sec. So Tesla's an interesting one, but I'm gonna break this down thoroughly just so there's no confusion. So this is where we opened on Friday. This was the previous day low on Thursday. So we ended up gapping down, and Tesla did a very good job filling the gap. Did a very good job filling the gap. Now, as long as we're under 410, as long as we are under 410, I am bearish bias. So my confirmation, right, seeing that wick, seeing seller step up at this 410, I like that. That shows me, okay, I did my job. I found a key level. I'm bearish bias under this. I'm gonna zoom out here on the weekly just to show you how this would be a form of a lower low. So I'm bearish bias on this name on 410 if we open up under that. So for me on Monday, I should even go here on the 15 just to give you a better look. For me on Monday, right, I'm looking for something like this. Golly, give me one sec. Come on. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm looking for pop and fade off of this, right? Off this 410, because that confirms a bearish bias, or a short break and retest under this, or a break and retest under 289.25, right? A lot of thin volume in here, straight up equals straight down. This is what I love to see, right? That gets respected on the dot. Seller step in, pushing this thing down. That's exactly what I want to see here on Tesla. So you got to read it here, because keep in mind, if we reclaim this 410, now we are bullish bias, and I'm going long over this name, right? This is a key level here. Now, the way that I see it is if we reclaim this, I love the confluence. It's a daily, it's a breaker structure level, and it's a previous day high. The way that I see this is if we reclaim this level, we are pretty much getting into a long position at the bottom of the range. And if we reclaim 410, we are bullish bias. So really got to be patient here. Read this. I'll show you this on the daily. Just kind of zoom out, right? We know that we avoided all this. We avoided all that. But we can see, down here, right? Buyers were stepping up, defending this. So what do? We turn this support into resistance. That's what we're doing. So if we can reclaim this 410, remember, we're bullish bias, and the way that I see this is we're getting in at the bottom of this channel. We're getting in at the bottom of the range, and I really want to see this thing gravitate higher. So 410 is really, really the key level coming in on Monday. Now, let me go here on the intraday from Friday. This is beautiful. Our key levels are always drawn out before market opens. We haven't been under 410 in quite some time. So to see, right, our key levels get respected on the dot, I mean, that's what you love to see, right? Break and retest here, push up, break and retest there, push up. So that gives me confidence and conviction that, hey, if I am shorting, I'm very comfortable shorting off my key levels here on the intraday. Why? Look at the reactions, right? I love that. You can even see on the 15-minute. So for me personally, right, we come into Monday and Tesla wants to stay heavy. I'm looking for a pop and fade. I'm looking for a pop and fade off this 410. Also, let's say we open up, just want to break this down thoroughly. Let's say we open up above 410 and we fall under it. I love that. Why? We swept the previous day high's liquidity. We swept all that liquidity. And typically speaking, if we fall back under the previous day high, sellers push the price back down to the previous day low. I love that. Why? Because this is unmitigated liquidity. We're bearish bias, so that means price should gravitate towards the bottom of this range. Love to see it. So that's really the game plan here on Tesla going into Monday. I'll show you this on the weekly. Right? I know I broke this down. Okay. Why are we bearish bias if we fall into 410? So I know I've explained this, but I want to give you a better visual. Right, remember last time we pushed up into this 488, 466? What did that lead to almost a year ago? This downside. History repeats itself. We push up into this again. And what can you see that's leading to? Downside. So got to zoom out in order to get the bigger picture. If we're under 410 on a technical standpoint, we are bearish bias. I love all this thin volume in here. This thing went straight up. We already filled the gap. So this thing can go straight down. This thing can 100% go straight down. You can see the last 2 weeks has just been straight downside on Tesla. These are weekly candles, just bearish to the downside. So 410 coming into Monday, right? That's our key level to watch. But the way that I'm looking at this is over a year ago, almost a year ago, we already pushed up into this 466. You can see right here on the dot, and that led to all of this. We did this again, and so far it's leading to that. It's leading to this downside. So be cautious, right? 410 is your key level to watch going into Monday. NVIDIA, beautiful. This thing is 100% bullish bias. Trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. This is the weekly time frame. This is the weekly time frame. I mean, look at the video. This thing is solid. 2 weeks ago, we already made all-time highs. Look at these wicks down here, right? Buyers are definitely defending this thing. Look at the wicks down here. So that being said, here on the video, we know we're bullish bias. This thing is in sync with the Qs. I've said that already, but look at this this weekly, these two bottom candles here. Same thing that Qs did, right? We ended up pulling back all of last week on the Qs. So did NVIDIA. Qs was pulling NVIDIA back. What do? Right? NVIDIA started this week off with a gap up. We filled the gap, and then we moved higher. So let's go here on the intraday, just so you can see, right? It was fairly a slow week last week on NVIDIA. So I'll explain to you why, right? This is Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. So, right, Tuesday and Wednesday, inside bar day. Thursday, we're pulling back, filling the gap. Remember, so did Qs, right? What do? We gapped down below. So did the Qs. Filled the gap. That was a squeeze. We ran this thing back to the upside. So it wasn't a lot going on the video, but it was just pulling back. It was just pulling back, right? You can see bar stepped up here, push this thing higher. And let's go here on the daily, just so you can see the better visual that I'm talking about. I just want to explain this to you guys, just so you can understand market context and structure, right? This is 2 Fridays in a row. 1, 2. I know I broke this down. Like I said, we started this week off with a gap up. So what do? The remainder of this week? Fill the gap, fill the thin volume. That's normal. But what do? Last Friday, we pulled back to 179.45. We gapped all the way up to 200. Right? This is what I mean when I say, hey, you want to get in these dip buys before we get back to the top of this range. So what do? This Friday, again, same thing. Buyers shot this thing up. Look at this candle. This is on the daily. This is a bullish, thick candle. So that being said, for me, my A+ setup coming into Monday on the video here, one sec, is, right, it's either going to be a break and retest or pull back long off this 190.10, or a break and retest over this 195.60 targeting the top of that range. It's a lot of thin volume in here. We'll see what happens. Keep in mind, we've identified the pattern that Qs and NVIDIA are in sync. So this is super solid. This is super solid. You're really just looking for a pullback long off of 184.50, a break and retest over 190.10, or a break and retest over 195.60. These are all super solid. For me, this is really, give me one sec. For me, this is really my main one that I'm watching. Why? You can see we pretty much had a daily double top here. So 2 days in a row, this ended up being the previous day high. So, right, a break and retest over this. I love it. I love the confluence. We'll be over the previous day high. We're breaking a weekly level. That's a big deal. A weekly level pushing higher. Now, just in case, right, I just want to break this down for you. If, very big if NVIDIA wants to stay heavy, right, and we fall under 184, I'm hands off. I'm hands off. Remember, we avoided this channel. We avoided all of that. I don't want to be in that. So I'm only looking for pullback longs and break and retest on my key levels that's sitting above 184.50. If we fall under 184.50, I'm hands off just because, right, look at all this. We did a really good job a couple of months ago avoiding that. Let's not do that again, right? Let's not try and take trades in this channel. These are low probability environments. So NVIDIA's setting up, right? You can kind of see starting to get a bull flag here. If we can get that and this thing can move higher, right? All-time highs to target, beautiful. So really my game plan coming into NVIDIA on Monday. Apple. So Apple's still setting up. Honestly, really it's the same game plan on Apple as it's been really the last 2 weeks. So like I said, I wanted to see this channel turn into support, and you can see we're clearly starting to do that. So found a new resistance level here on the daily, this 275.90. You can see every time we push into that, sellers are sitting here, right? This is a key level being respected very, very well. So for me coming into Monday, I'm looking for this, right? Still along for 271.40, targeting the top of this range and all-time highs, right? The reason for that being is, remember, getting in down here is the better RR trade compared to getting in up here when we're already sitting near all-time highs, right? Another thing, if Apple wants to stay heavy, pull back long, 264.05. I know I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, just so I can remind you, we broke this level. Broke that level. We still have like a mini gap there to fill. We broke that level, but we never retested it, right? I mean, this is just clean market structure. If we can get one of these, that's super solid targeting the top of this range. But for me, coming into Monday, 271.40, still same game plan along off of that. Now, if Apple wants to rally and we break through this 275.90, I need clear displacement. You guys know that. Why? Because this thing could just make an all-time high and then do one of those. That would be normal. So I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be a part of a fake out, a bull trap, liquidity grab, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to need a proper displacement candle above this 275, then one of these, and then the continuation higher targeting the top of that range. Hope that makes sense. That is the game plan on Apple going into Monday. AMD. AMD, I feel like I'm playing cat and mouse with this name. It's setting up, but it's kind of all over the place. I mean, you can clearly see here, right? Let's just look at all the wicks on the daily on this name. Let's look at all these big wicks on the daily on AMD. It's kind of crazy, right? Look at that. Each day, pretty much this week, this thing pushes up, and sellers just step in very, very aggressively. Now, again, this is another name. This is Friday. Buyer stepped in. We started this week off with a gap up. Fortunately, the following day we ended up filling this gap, and then we moved higher. It looked like we were gonna make all-time highs this week. We got fairly close. All-time high is sitting here at 267, so we got fairly close, but we didn't get there. So something I drew out last week, and I'm still watching this. Right? It's just bull flag setup on the daily. That is exactly what I'm looking for. This is really my A+ long, 242.80. If I can get that, I'm taking that shot. We ended up getting the breakout on Friday, but we never got the retest because momentum was so strong. So here, right, anywhere in between here, for me, it's just a no trade zone. And you can clearly see why. Every time we push into, this 264.60, right, sellers just step up very aggressively. You can see all these wicks up here, right? I don't want anything to do with that. That's why it's hard to trade, in zones, and that's why we avoid them, because you can't expect clean continuation. Right? Yeah, it's a valid shot if you take a break and retest over 252.90, but at any given moment, you can really expect heavy sellers to step in, right? We can clearly see that here on the daily. So for me, if we do break over 252.90, I'm hands off. But my A+ opportunity, the only key level I'm really looking to take a trade off of on AMD is this 242.80. This is my A+ long. I'm watching this. If we stay under that, in between that, I'm hands off, just because this, right? I'm just being very conservative on AMD. I really haven't taken many trades on this in a while. It's probably been, maybe almost a month. But the reason for that being, it's just because I was setting up. Remember, we had this entire gap up. That's a very big gap. And then we just moved higher. You can see the price action here wasn't that great. And then we ended up gapping up here, right? So the price action really hasn't been that great here. But it's setting up. It's setting up. So 242.80, that's really my A+ long. Or, right, if we want to stay heavy, this 225. This is our breaker structure level. If we fell this, we are bearish bias on this name. I definitely would look to short under this. But hey, look at this, right? This thing's being defended very, very well. This is what kept us bullish bias on this thing. We pulled back last Friday, right? This was just a week ago, all the way back to 225, and we pushed all the way back up to 264.60. This is what I mean when I say the trend is your friend and the dip is your best friend. I'm trying to teach you that, right? You want to be in a position down here before we get back to the top of this range. So that's really the game plan on AMD going into Monday. I'll go here on the intraday, right? This is what I'm looking for. That is super solid. Now, I know it says long here over 252.90. Keep in mind, if you take that, it's a valid shot. It's a valid shot, but I would treat it as a scalp. I love the confluence here because it's the previous day high. I most likely will pass on this if it sets up, but it's a high probability shot. You won't be wrong if you take it. But for me, no trade zone. But I just love the confluence here that it'd be over the previous day high. So, if we can get a big breakout, take out all this liquidity, retest that, and move higher, super, super valid. So that's really the game plan on AMD going into Monday. And lastly, Palantir. So I will have Palantir on my close watch list here. Like I've been saying, as long as we are above 169, we are bullish bias. But I've been preaching about this 177 for the longest. This is a very strong level here. So I love it's the previous day high. It's a beautiful confluence, right? If you enter here, you're getting in at the bottom of the range, and hopefully this thing can move higher. I'll zoom out here on the daily in a sec just to show you what I mean. But this 177.05, you go watch my previous videos. I've been breaking this level down saying it's been highly respected, highly respected. As soon as we get over it, buyers really do defend this very well. So for me on Monday, I'm going to see what sets up here on Palantir. Now, if we can get a break and retest over 177.05, it's also the previous day high. I love the confluence. This thing really can move higher. Let's go here on the daily, show you what I mean. Right, look at this. So we know this is a key level that's just every time we get above it, we hold it as support. I mean, look at all these wicks on the dot, pretty much. So this is valid. We know we're bullish bias. If you can get in at the bottom here before we get back up here, that is a solid entry. Just look left, right? Look at every time we reclaim this, we shoot up, right? Every time we reclaim it, we shoot up. Every time we reclaim it, we shoot up. So we're bullish bias as long as we're above 169. So this looks like a great opportunity to get in at the bottom of the range, and hopefully this thing moves higher. You can see there's been some thin volume in here, straight down, straight up. Price has just been ripping through here. So super solid setup here. I will be watching this. This is very solid over 177.05. If that sets up and it's clean enough, I'm taking my shot. I don't mind that. That's a super solid shot, right? I want to get in at the bottom of this range before we get back to the top of here. Kind of like I just explained on Tesla, right? If we get a break and retest on Tesla over 410, we're back to being bullish bias, and then we're getting into a long position at the bottom of this range, right? Before we gravitate back up here. So keep an eye on 410 going into Monday. This is really our key level, but as long as we're under it, bearish bias. Hope this helps. Hope trading's been going well. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's keep this ball rolling. Let's keep this momentum going. Appreciate the love, support. Don't forget to subscribe, turn your notifications. Something that I always say is the same trades I'm taking, I'm giving you guys. I'm giving you guys the exact same trades. So let's keep this momentum going. Let's start the week off good, right?